Hey, what's up, you guys? ShartimusPrime here, doing another Marvel Legends action figure review on the Venom Let There Be Carnage movies. Carnage! Oh, I'm so happy to have this figure in hand. It does look a little bit weird in the torso, I know that, but I gotta give a big thanks to the Toy Snowman for setting me up with this figure right over here. Big thanks for supporting this channel. Check him out, show him some love. Link to the Toy Snowman is in the description below. And this is the first time I've actually gotten this kind of packaging for a Marvel Legends figure. So yeah, it's my first experience with this new packaging. I gotta say, it doesn't look too bad so far, not too crazy different, but you can see it says Venom Let There Be Carnage right over there on the side, wraps around with that window, and some of that symbiote goopness right there, and then you can see this cool image of these guys tongue kissing right over there. The back of the packaging, and I just didn't like that he had a tongue, that's all. Anyway, on this side you can see him with his tongue again right there, and then it says Venom Let There Be Carnage on the top, not much more at the bottom. So let's get to it and crack this thing open. And here's this ridiculous Carnage figure out of the packaging, and this figure is actually pretty fun. I gotta say, I've had a good time with this figure, and it looks pretty cool. Fun to pose around. I like the accessories. I got pretty much all of them loaded up over here. However, I will say I'm a little underwhelmed by the paint and sculpt, especially after already having the SH Figuarts version. So there's things that I like, there's things that I don't like about this figure. Let's get into it. We'll start with the accessories. Now, for the $40 price tag, I do think we get a fair number of accessories here, especially because we get a bonus coffee stain and spider splat stain over there. And then you get these tendrils, which is actually 3 tendril pieces. Each of them are about 11 inches long, and I love that they have bendy wire in them. And aside from the lack of paint, they look really cool, and I like that this one rotates right over here at the end. You can see those vent holes for having the bendy wire in there. I think the sculpt is actually really good, and aside from the lack of paint, I think these do look better than the SH Figuarts with these ball joints right here. But the downside is that they are pretty heavy, and getting this figure to balance is tricky. I did have some frustrating moments getting him balanced in dynamic poses, but you gotta have him because he's got these tendrils on his back like every time he appears in the movie. This one looks really cool. I do like it. One of these had a stress mark on one of the vent holes that I was concerned about, and you could plug these anywhere on the back, which you'll see more in a moment. It was this one that had the stress marks. Yeah, so that kind of scared me a little bit. Ooh, look at that. So yeah, be mindful of some of them. I don't know how that got that way. I've bent these around quite a bit, but yeah, I like how this one came out. So these are actually pretty fun, even though I did mention it is tricky getting him to stand. It doesn't make it impossible for him to stand. It's just tricky. So it is fun having these. I do like they're included, and yeah, they did a good job with these right over here. I love these weapons, and the paint, again, it's a little underwhelming, especially when you see all the details involved with the Figuarts. Like every little crevice has some nice black paint on there. This one, some of the crevices have black paint, some of them don't. So you're just not going to get that same quality of paint on these, but I do like the sculpt of them. The sculpts are pretty nice, and you get a hinge right over here, so I do like that. And then this hand looks really badass too. I just wanted to get a close look at this, even though we just saw it a minute ago. And then these regular slashing hands look pretty good too. Can't really complain about them, except for wanting more paint. It's like only one part of the hand got the paint on it. It's a little bit weird. So we don't just get one head with this figure, we do get 2, and I gotta say, I'm just extremely disappointed in the overall design of this character for the movie. He shouldn't have been so freaking big, and why give him the ultra big tongue? There's just something about Carnage being smaller than Venom in the comics that just made him a little bit more interesting. You know, he's smaller, but more destructive. I thought that was always cool. But anyway, this head sculpt looks all right. I'm going to just mention over and over again that I just wish there's more paint on the figure. I could mention that like with every single part of it. But as far as the sculpt goes, it looks all right. The tongue has some nice details sculpted on it. Again, could use more color. This head, of course, I prefer more, and I like this a lot. Yeah, nice clean paint apps. Just wish we had more, but yeah, nice and clean. You get some paint on the back. Here's the 3 holes for the tendrils, and then yeah, it's all just bare ass right over there. Usually don't start with the ass when I look at the details, but hey, there's, you know, first time for everything. There you go. But looking at the chest, I do like the paint that we're seeing over here, even though it is a lot messier than what we'd seen with the Figuarts. But, you know, for what it is, it looks all right. It's not awful. It's just not great, in my opinion, anyway. I don't like how the torso is sculpted. I think that they could have widened this over here. His body looks too much like a tube. I feel like it should have a little bit more form and shape to it. There's a little bit of gappage right here with the shoulders, but they need that so you could rotate outward, you know, so that doesn't really bother me so much. I can understand how it would bother some. I like how these little tendril pieces don't pop off on me. They're nice and pliable, so that's good. And then there's looking at the crotch piece, so you get the whole black paint mixed in right over here, just kind of, I don't know, like a unrelented with a general wash over here, it looks like, more than anything. Not so much of a wash, but the way it was applied just reminds me of a wash. Nothing's like really particularly picked out with the details, just kind of laid on top of certain sections over here, you know? Whereas when we look at this guy, oh man, like every vein is picked out with detail, you know? Like there's purpose with every piece of paint application. Huge price difference between the two though. Well, this being $40, the other one was 120, I think, 130. So there is a major price difference between those two for sure. Now the feet came out backwards on mine. I had to pop off the feet and switch them unless I put them on the wrong side. But when you look at the very bottom of the feet right here, it really appears that I fixed it, right? Here's what it looked like before. Here's what it looks like now. I think this is better. It looks more like they put them on the wrong side, so yeah. Now there is some paint on the back of the thighs, and then some paint on the back of the arms right there, but a lot of bare spots. And then when you move the arms outward, the sides right here, you don't get any paint. So I could see this being a major deal breaker for people because it does make it look awfully cheap. It does. So as I mentioned, all these tendrils here are about the same length and they all have the bendy wire in them. So you could bend all the way up to around here and turn inward that much. So get a great range of movement with these. Just looking at this single one. Yeah. They all bend in around the same amount. So, yeah, I do like these. They are fun. Again, just a little on the heavy side getting him posed around. But anyway, you can see that we just get a ball joint for the head. So you can only look up that much. He will look down. A little bit of gappage over there. Side-to-side motion and great head pivoting. No butterfly joints. And it can run into itself a little bit with the shoulders as you bend this up. So yeah, that's a little tricky and you can only bend that far. You're going to run into this little piece right over here and then you can move them all the way in, rotate a full 360, bicep swivel, nice pinless double jointed elbows, all the hands turn side to side and hinge up and down. And then you have the diaphragm cut and then diaphragm pivot, moves forward a bit right there, moves back, and then you have the lower ab crunch. I like this articulation system. I think you get a lot of range of movement over here. So he bends forward very far, bends back very, very far, and then you get hips that move outward, and then he kicks forward, back, upper thigh cut, pinless double jointed knees. When you break this sculpt up over here, it does look really weird on that upper thigh. I will mention that. But anyway, you can move the ankles down, they will move up, and he has beautiful ankle pivot. Now, I mentioned a couple times that it's tricky for him to stand, but that's more for the dynamic poses. When you have him loaded up over here, he stands okay. He's doing a little bit of the smooth criminal, but not too much. And this are the two that have the rotating ends right there. These three do not have that feature. Anyway, to measure out the height of this new Carnage, you can see he's standing at about 9 inches tall. And then for a Let There Be Carnage comparison, you can see our Marvel Legends next to the SH Figure Arts right here. I don't know, I might do a video just comparing these two, but there's not a lot left more to say. I think this is just obviously a better looking figure. I like the frame of it a lot more. Sculpt, paint details way better. This does have better tendrils though. These are just more fun to work with, more posable, and they don't flop on me. These will droop down once in a while, plus you get more of them. And then here's our new Carnage figure next to the Venom 1 movie figure from Marvel Legends, and then we have the Let There Be Carnage Venom figure from SH Figure Arts right over here. And yeah, I still really like this Venom a lot. It was fun posing these two Legends figures together. Will I get that new one from Let There Be Carnage? I might not, though. And then for another Carnage comparison, you can see our movie Carnage next to my favorite comic Carnage is the Absolute Carnage body right here. And even comparing Marvel Legends with Marvel Legends, you can see this has way more paint detail throughout on the figure, all the way on the back, everywhere. I know this is a much larger figure, so that probably would have made the cost higher, but I don't know, I would have liked to see more detailed paint. And then here's our movie Carnage next to an MCU Spider-Man. We have the Final Swing Spider-Man. Then to compare Big Red over here, next to your average 6-inch scale figure, we have the Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows body mold Scarlet Spider. So I want to give a big thank you to all of you who watched this video. I sincerely appreciate it. If you want to do a little extra and hit that like button, I would appreciate that as well. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please go ahead and do so. And big thanks to all those that support this content on channel membership and on Patreon. And this figure was a lot of fun to shoot. I had a lot of good times taking photos of this figure. I really like the tendrils a lot. I like the figure for the most part. It's just that there's things that bum me out about it. If you're not going to have him in very dynamic poses, I get, well, what's the point then? He's got the bendy wires, he's got all the articulation and stuff. It's just that, yeah, again, the figure gets, it loses points for me when I see it at certain angles and it doesn't have the paint. Luckily, there is a lot of paint on the front of it, so that is cool, but yeah, that's the biggest downside, is just the lack of paint on the figure. I said that like 8 times in the video already. The articulation is fun. The accessories are awesome. I did have that stress marking on one of the tendrils, but I do like these tendrils a lot, so they're very cool, and I mostly like the figure. And then again, my biggest problems with the figure overall has nothing to do with Hasbro, but it's just the design of the character for the film. That does bum me out, you know? So taking all of that into my consideration here when I rate this thing at the price point of $40, which I actually don't think is bad. This is like a build-a-figure sized figure for sure. So at that price point, I'm gonna give this Let There Be Carnage a Sun rating of...
It's not too bad.
And it was tough rating this figure, because I do like it. I do like the figure, but I got problems with the figure. That always makes it hard for ratings. So let me know what you guys think about it. I want to know in the comment section below. If you want to see the latest in Marvel news, you can find it all over at marvelousnews.com. And if you want to stay in touch with me on social media, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and on whatnot. And I will catch you guys later. Peace.
That's crispy.
Hey, new ShartimusPrime videos. Hey, you should click one. Yeah, click on one of them. Or subscribe if you haven't.